died.
Oh, so he is gonna marry her.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, I have met her. I've just
okay.
heard about her.
Well, that's good.
Have you met her?
I saw because I normally run his conference.
Okay,
I'm his conference director for the Word Conference.
okay.
And one night I was taking a preacher to go eat, and I
Uh-huh.
seen him holding hands with this nice shorty. And I
Oh,
said, "Oh," and I just kept on walking.
there we go, Reverend.
Yes.
That was his business.
Dude.
Exactly. I say that's the boss. The boss is the one paying me to do my job.
There we
I
go.
get paid to not to see and what to see.
There we go. There we go. You know how to roll with it.
Here we go. We want to start.
And located at 4113 Telegraph Avenue in Oakland, California. Visit their website at www.harmonymdc.org. Visit them on Facebook at Harmony MD Church or on Instagram at Harmony MDC. Donations are always welcome and helps to keep this radio ministry alive. You can donate by going to Givelify on your smartphone or on their Facebook page. Thank you for listening to Harmony Missionary Baptist Church. Tune in every Sunday morning for Morning Manna at 7 a.m. and Sunday evening at 6 p.m. on KEST 1450 and on the web at kestradio.com.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to One More Time broadcast brought to you by the Harmony Church, 4113 Telegraph Avenue in the city of Oakland. And let me first say Happy New Year to you. The Lord has brought us to 2021, and we are grateful that in spite of all that happened, in spite of all that transpired, we can say that we made it over, we made it through, and we have survived. And I bless the Lord for this opportunity to come to you again tonight with another show, One More Time broadcast brought to you by the Harmony Church. I want to just give God thanks for being able to see another year. And let me give a shout out to all the listeners that were able to support our 2021 Word Explosion that we put on New Year's Day. 38 preachers, over 16 hours of preaching. God was pleased, God was glorified, and I believe the saints were edified to start the year off. 38 preachers, over 16 hours of preaching. We started at 8 a.m. and ended at 1:30 a.m. Saturday morning, and we blessed the Lord for over 7,000 views that have viewed that telecast on New Year's Day. So let me just give a shout out to all of those that supported that ministry, that production. We have something else coming real soon. We'll talk about that a little later on the after show. Grateful tonight to have the co-host with us, the man, if you will, that keeps us balanced. If Tonto had Lone Ranger, if Fred had Lamont, if Laverne had Shirley, if Skarsky had Hutch, Batman got to have Robin. I'm Batman. Robin, say hello to the people tonight.
Hey, man, what's going on, Perk, man? God bless you, my brother. Good to see you. I just thank God for what he's doing in you, man. I had some other ones today, Perk. It was like, if quarter had back, if left had hook, if right had uppercut. I was just like rattling, right? My head, dude.
If peanut butter had jelly, right?
Exactly. We ain't nothing but compounds, bro. We just compounds, man. We just add to the body of Christ, and we just do it, man. And I'm like, I am in just, I want to say, like, I'm so jealous of you tonight. Because it's like, man, Perk got Manuel Scott Jr. It's like, how come I didn't think of that? Like, yo, Perk, let's get Manuel Scott Jr. No, but you know what, man? That's why we hooked up, bro.
That's right.
Because, the stuff I think about, you think about, and the stuff that I don't think about, you still think about. And sometimes the stuff that you don't think about, I think about. Right? And so we got Doc. I'm gonna shut up. My pencil and paper. Like,
our listening audience, let me say, introduce to you, the one and only Dr. Manuel Scott Jr., what we have called, if you will, the Black Billy Graham for the Black Church, if you will, the only full-time evangelist that has been doing it, the itinerant preacher that's been doing it in 2 years. I think you said it'll be 40. Dr. Scott, will you say hello to the people, to our listening audience tonight?
Blessings on each and every one of you. Happy New Year, blessed New Year. We trust that your Christmas was also a blessed time of fellowship, food, and sanctification. Let me immediately say thank you to Pastor Perk for inviting me to be a part of this beautiful, beautiful program. Pastor Curtis Robinson, we thank God for him and his stick-to-itiveness and his great spirit. I'm just happy to be here, and we believe that God is going to bless. Thank you again, Pastor Perkins, for the invitation. Appreciate you. I've loved you down through the years. Amen.
Yes,
you are an able young man. Way back then, you're still a young man, and we bless God for what you're doing even now.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I mean, words cannot express. We were just talking about being at the California State Baptist Convention. I mean, whether we were in San Jose or Fresno or Riverside or LA, we always knew for the 8 o'clock morning Bible study, man, I'm going to hear that short dude with that fro.
Man.
Because he was you. One thing I will tell you, Dr. Scott, you were always relevant. Always relevant. You were always relevant. You always met us right where we were. And to our listening audience, I know to our listening audience that's out there listening on Facebook and YouTube, y'all need to for real chime in tonight. All of y'all California State Baptist Convention alumni that come through the ranks. I'm talking about.
Come on, man.
Y'all need to come on, chime in for the after show so we can make the show even better. But Pastor, Dr. Scott, one of the reasons this show came about was because this pandemic that has just came from out of nowhere and just really just caused a major uproar, not only in the States but across the world. And the first thing this show is called Pastoring Through a Pandemic, Coping with the Crisis. And first question I just want to ask you for this segment that we have is, when you first heard about it, the pandemic, I'm sure you were on the road somewhere, going on your way, going or coming from on your way, going to somewhere else. Can you just explain, your first reaction personally when you got word about this quote unquote pandemic?
Right. I was really amazed, Pastor Perk, Brother Rob, because I really didn't want to believe that it was as major as the news media were presenting it to be. But as time moved on very swiftly, I saw the magnitude of it. I knew then that God was speaking not just to the nation, but he was speaking to the church. As you know, we've written so many lectures, and as we have tried, as you have forestated, to be relevant, so many pastors around the country asked me, Scott, what are you going to write on it? What are you going to write on it? And I told them, well, the Lord hadn't spoken to me yet. And as it moved through, they kept asking me, Doc, you need to write something on it. You really need to speak to it. You speak to other issues, so why not speak to this one? I said, brethren, the Lord has to speak to me because I knew that once I delved into it, I was going to give it 100. And finally, the Lord did speak to me. He said, now you need to put something in print, which I've done. The lecture is called Vital Lessons from the Virus, What God is Saying to Us Through the COVID-19 Crisis. And so I don't know if this is the segment that we want to talk about it, but again, I was convinced that the Lord was speaking to the nation, and certainly he was speaking to the church, and of course he's speaking to individuals to have this kind of pandemic, which is a worldwide problem and malady. Certainly God in his permissive will has allowed this to befall us.
Dr. Scott, thank you for for sharing that. We're going to allow you, if you want to, on the after show, to just let you go ahead and do what you do. If you want to make the presentation from beginning to end, we go sit here and we go listen to you because we love you. So
Okay.
On the after show, we'll allow you to present that
Okay.
that
I'll
final
present
lessons.
some parts too. I'll present some parts.
Okay, that'll be great. That'll be great. That'll be great. Go ahead, Curt. Go ahead, Curt.
Man, that's great, man. You know, again, this iconic. First of all, let's be real clear about what's going on, you know, tonight. You know, and again, Perk, you know, you're my brother in the ministry, and I'm your older brother, and it's like y'all can't touch him unless y'all touch me, man. And it's just like how the Holy Ghost moved on you, man, to call Dr. Scott, you know, because he has taught so many of us, man, especially in California. Right. I mean, I don't even think there's like a guy that we know, you know, that can't say that at some point Manuel Scott did not touch them. Right. But Dr. Scott, this is what I want to ask you, man. It's like, so you're like Manuel Scott Jr.
Yes,
right?
sir.
Man,
yes, sir.
Can you talk to us a little bit about Manuel Scott Sr.?
Yes, Curt, now I don't know if you've seen the book that I've done on my father, the quotable Manuel Scott Sr.
I have.
Words from a Gospel Genius. You really need to get that. And of course, I learned more about him as I was researching the book. The book itself is a compilation of about 500 of his brilliant quotations on various matters, such as education, such as preaching, such as preparation, evangelism, and even social activism. My dad and I, thank God, had a great relationship. It is quite interesting when I tell people that when I first came to my dad and told him that I was going to become a full-time evangelist, he fought it tooth and nail because there had been no precedent for it. We've never had anything like this in the Black Baptist culture. And so we talked about it. And then the second time I came to my dad, I said, now, Dad, the first time I came to you, I felt led. I said, but now I'm being driven. The Lord is just driving me. And of course, I was pastoring at the time, very successful church. For those who knew about Park Windsor,
Park
Lord
Windsor
blessed it in a tremendous way. People cried when I left, and all of that. That kind of thing. Trustees wanted to extend my vacation. Pastor, you just tired, you know, that kind of thing. But I was graced to have been his son. I learned so much from him, just watching him and then listening to him as he talked to others, of course, as he preached, and then, of course, direct conversations to me as I was a developing preacher. By the way, about 2.5 years into my full-time ministry, my dad came to me and he said, son, I must apologize. You were correct. He said, God is this. God is in this. He said, I'm hearing from men all over the country. He said, I was wrong. He said, you're correct. He said, and I'm with you all the way, and I'm going to do everything I can to help you out. So that's the kind of relationship we had. Mm-hmm.
That's a tremendous relationship. I remember, man, when I went to Bishop College and he was the pastor at the St. John Church there in Dallas.
Yeah.
And so I had the opportunity to hear him preach a Perk. I don't even know. It was like an experience, man. So living in the house with him, what was that like? Because he was it just seemed to be so intense. It was like, you know, if there was a LeBron James preaching, it was him. If there was a Kobe, Brian preaching, it was him. If that's like, man, I'm serious, man.
Yeah.
The brother was intense.
Well, very, very, very much so. But that was one side of him.
Okay.
There was another side, because he was, and I guess I'm like him in that way. He was an introvert on the one hand, and then he was an extrovert on the other hand. Of course, I saw his extroverted side when he was studying and that kind of thing. But then I saw his extroverted side in a family way, because he'd take us to movies, always present all of my siblings and I with beautiful gifts at Christmas. He taught me how to play ping pong, and I learned how to play really well because my dad was left-handed. And if you ever played a left-handed ping pong player, brother, you're in store for something. And so, and of course, and then as I ministry and we even got closer because we could talk about a lot of things in common. And I would ask him questions when I was pastoring, because when I was pastoring, I still lived at the house, still lived at the family home.
Wow.
Prior to him going to St. John there in Dallas. Mm-hmm. So I saw all sides of it. All sides of it.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I mean, he had a tremendous sense of humor. Yeah, he really did. He was
like boys with Caesar Clark, man. That's what I hear, man.
Oh yeah.
Perk, what's up with that, bro?
With my daddy. He's with my daddy.
Oh yeah. Well, he was Papa E.V. Hill's pastor. Yeah. Yeah. He was Papa's pastor. And if you wanted to see something funny, you would have to see them discussing whatever issue it was, and they disagreed. Now you talking about something that cracked me up, because they were both sincere and they both thought they were right. So it was really something. Those were priceless conversations. They really were.
I bet.
They really
Perk, I'm good, man, for a minute.
Dr. Scott, if you could, and since we're talking about your father, can you just share your path that led you to Princeton, UCLA, the importance of just the preacher sharpening himself and going to college? Just the greatest school in LA is USC. However, we thank God for the I'm a Compton baby.
The jungle.
You probably recall my late pastor, the Second Benevolent Church, Dr. L.T. King. That's who my pastor was on El Segundo. Yeah.
Wow, dude. That's rich.
2237 East El Segundo Boulevard in the city. Right off of Willowbrook, dog.
Yeah, put yourself in the hood, dog.
Yeah, but just share your path that led you to UCLA, then to Princeton, and then just talk about that.
Yeah, well, after high school, because my dad was a Bishop College alumni, and my sister was there also. So I wanted to experience something new. I wanted to experience Southern culture. Texas, Southwest, but it's so much South. It's more South than West. And so I went to Bishop. I only stayed 3 semesters. No offense, but that's about all I could take. No offense, but that's about all.
Hey, Doc, I went to school there, Doc. You think I don't know what you're talking about?
That's what I'm talking about. Hey, Curt, that's about no offense, but that's about all I could take. And and the Lord blessed us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And it was a miracle to me because we had 17 candidates. They voted me freshman class president. At that time, during that time, the mid 70s, I got to Bishop in 1967 and left in 68. Half the student body was freshmen.
Wow.
We because at that time Bishop had a little more than 1,500 students, and we had 750 freshmen. And like I said, it was a miracle that they were kind enough to vote me as their president. And I saw so many things, Curt, that was going on. So I planned, because remember now, this is during 67, 68. Everybody was marching, everybody protesting. I planned to really march on the school to force them to address some of the issues that were happening there. But the Holy Spirit told me, said, no, don't do that. Your dad is a trustee. You're going to embarrass him. They're going to put you out of school, which I didn't mind. But I didn't want to embarrass my father. Yeah. And so what I did, Perk, I just went, I said, well, I'll just leave. Again, my dad fought me on that. He thought I was running from preaching because I wasn't a preacher when I went to Bishop. I wasn't, in fact, I wasn't thinking about preaching. I was thinking about being a lawyer. But anyway, so we left, and then we went to UCLA in 1968. Had a great time, great experience. Met so many famous people. One of whom, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Of course, he was Lou Alcindor in those days.
Yeah.
Talking about a really nice guy. Now you're talking about a major introvert. I mean, just a very quiet, thoughtful, meditative kind of guy who also had a sense of humor. So it took us to UCLA, and then I was on my way to law school, and in fact, I had made the waiting list, which meant that the next year I was going to be admitted. But in the meantime, a friend of mine said, "You know what?" He said, "Doc," he said, "Man," he said, "Now I don't know what you think about it." He said, "I'm not a Baptist, I'm a Presbyterian." He said, "But the Lord is all on you." He said, "Man," and he was at Princeton at the time. He said, "Man, you really ought to think about coming to Princeton. You really should." I said, "Well, I'm not interested in preaching." He said, "Man, what are you talking about?" He said, "You can become a professor." Now that intrigued me. And it just so happened, the Lord just so arranged for the recruiter to be in LA at the time. And my friend got in touch with him, and he got in touch with me. He said, "Manuel, this is David." He said, "I'm from Princeton. I'm the chief recruiter." He said, "I'd like to have lunch with you and explain to you what the school is all about." And so we did. We had lunch. And he said, "Now, financially, you don't have to worry about a thing. We'll take care of you." He said, "But just listening to you," he said, "you need to be at Princeton." He said, "You get there." He said, "We'll take care of you."
Wow.
And so we got there, and basically the rest is history. So Perk, that's how all of that went.
Man,
Right.
listen, you pulling out everybody tonight. The pastor of my home church, Second Benevolent Baptist Church, the current pastor, Dr. Maurice Kelly, is on. Dr. Nathan Johnson is watching. I mean, I go
that's awesome, bro. That's what's up.
Welton Pleasant, President Pleasant is one. I mean, everybody is coming out. Everybody
praise God.
Who?
Don't
make me. Don't make me.
Can you tell President Pleasant we're still waiting for him to come be a guest on our show?
Dr. Scott, can you tell him that?
Can you tell him, please?
Can you tell him that, please?
We know we're not big time.
The boys want you on, and you ought to fly with them and be a good brother. Welton, Happy New Year to you and the family, and to your son. Who's going to make a tremendous preacher. We think the world of him. So Welton, you come on after me. That'd be great.
Come on, Welton, quit playing, man.
So Doc, let's keep this flowing.
Yeah.
I mean, can you just share, and this will be the segue into the question that I need to ask you. Can you share that the how many times you're on a plane every year, how many meetings you do every year? Can you just share those statistics, and then I'll ask you the question.
Okay, right. I keep statistics of all of that, of everything I do, when I preach, where I preach, and all of that, honorariums and all of that. Certainly before COVID hit, we averaged, Perk and Curt, about 92 to 95 planes a year. We averaged about 16 to 19 states a year, about 63 cities a year. Of course, at this point, since I've been preaching, we've done well over 1,100 revivals already in my lifetime. I mean, it's a miracle. It's amazing. So, before COVID hit, we were doing quite well. Now, one of the key things, and particularly if anyone is listening who desires to be a full-time evangelist, first of all, I want to say that you cannot choose it. It has to choose you. That's the first thing that has to happen.
Wow.
But you realize that if you're going to be successful, in my judgment, praise be to God, two things must happen. Number one, I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe that you need to be a pastor. You need to be a pastor in order to be an effective evangelist. I say that because, number one, You are acutely aware of the sensitivities of pastors, and then you have a good idea of the mindset of the people. Pastoring will help you tremendously. It'll be very, very difficult, in my judgment, for a person to try to be a full-time evangelist who has never pastored. And so that's just one thing that I want to say in that regard. And then the second thing I want to say is that if you're going to be successful, you have to have a great number of annual Sundays. Fellows who you preach for every year, they will stabilize and solidify your ministry. Revivals and workshops come and go. Now, of course, you'll have some revivals that you would have conducted 20 plus years and all of that. But as a rule, revivals come and go. You may be at a place 2, 3, 4 years, and then they move on to someone else, which is understandable, that kind of thing. But if you have annual Sundays, they undergird your ministry. And of course, before COVID hit, and I'm sure as soon as it lifts, it'll be the same thing. Because I've been keeping those commitments with several men across the country. But before COVID hit, I had about 46, 47 annual Sundays. So now you can imagine that just left me with about five Sundays that I was free to give to guys. Guys would get mad at me. Scott, I want you to come. No, buddy, it's an annual thing. I got to be there. That kind. But so that's those. Are the stats basically of what we've been doing. Yeah.
So the question that I want to lead into, is that because of the stats you just shared, which is remarkable, when this COVID hit, it hit you pretty hard.
I lost 95% of all my engagements, which means I lost 95% of my income.
Wow.
Because the vast majority, 95% of pastors, well, more than that, say 98% of pastors were no longer meeting. But Curt and Perk, the blessing was that the majority of the men and others sent the honorariums anyway.
Wow.
Some a whole honorarium, some sent half of it, some sent 3/4 of it. And it's I've been overwhelmed and I've been just so thankful that the men would think that much of me to do that. And so we have not missed a beat in that regard.
Wow.
And then fellows that I have not preached for in years, they have called me up and said, Doc, how you doing? Well, we're making it. Doc, I want to send you something. All right. Send me something. I mean, I've heard from so many pastors, all different denominations, because I preached to so many. I preached to about 12 different denominations, all the board. So but I was severely affected, and it's slowly beginning to open up now, Perk. Slowly beginning to open up. So I've been thankful to the men because it certainly impacted our ministry, no question about it. Like it impacted everybody.
Right. What excuse me, what has been your longest, and I like what you said, you established annual Sundays, which undergirded you, which meant every year you knew that you were going to be here. What is your longest tenure or longest annual engagement you've carried where you've preached at such and such place for the past 20 plus years or so?
The longest revival was in Harlem, New York, with the best man of my wedding, who passed about a year and a half ago, J Mccann at St. Luke, and I'm still not over that. My dear friend, brilliant fella, was a professor at Drew University. He wrote about 17, 18 books, just a great soul. I did his revival for 20 plus years. Annual Sundays, of course, at Mount Zion with Papa Hill, and then of course Ed extended that, and of course both of them are gone now, but that had to be well over 35 years. just so many other places, Doc. I'd have to really think about that, because it's been so many men that I preach for, annually. Jerry Daly at Macedonia in San Antonio, Texas. I know I've been preaching for him for at least 16, 17 years, every third Sunday in October. Walter Wells, first Sunday in July there, Mount Airy in San Diego. That has to be 25 plus years. Just so many. Dr. Ephraim Williams at St. Paul when he was pastoring there. I talked with him a week and a half ago. That had to be 35 years. Of course, I've done his revivals, I've done his institutes, but the last 15, 20 years, I've been there every first Sunday in May. And so men like that, Doc, is just all over.
I'm laughing because my good friend, Dr. Marvin Wally, is watching. He said, when the COVID is up, you're coming to Maywood.
Right. I'm going to hold you to that. I'm going to hold you to that, buddy. I'm going to hold you to that, man.
That's one of my best friends.
In fact,
that's one of my best friends.
I'm glad you told me that Marvin was on, because we have a very good friend, mutual friend in Rockford, Illinois, Dr. Lewis Malone. And for Malone, of course, I met him when I did the citywide revival there in Rockford. I did that for 11 years. And then I've been preaching for Malone for the last, now at least 15 years. Wow. Right, 80 miles west of Chicago.
Right.
Mm.
Well,
yeah,
listen,
that's
we're going to take a quick break real quick, and we'll come right back. Jose, go ahead and take us out. Take us out, Jose. Doing great, Doc. Doing great.
Yeah,
okay.
So it's like it's you say J Mccann?
Yeah, J Mccann. MC capital CANN. J Mccann. He was at St. Luke Baptist Church there in Harlem, New York City.
Okay.
Great author.
John J Mccann.
That's right, Johnny McCann. That's right.
All right, cool, man. I'm gonna check some of his books out.
Do that, man. Do that,
yeah.
guy.
We're gonna have to get into this, man, because you raise, one of the things, man, is that you raise some intellectual issues.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk about like how you was able to shift, right, from bishop, right. Went back to UCLA, because I was student body president, man, as a sophomore, right?
Okay.
And that was too soon. It was too soon.
Oh.
Yeah, it was too soon. Because I actually marched.
Okay.
And I was man, they had an administrator, got up in chapel the next day and basically said that I was a devil.
Right? Wow. It's that kind of atmosphere. That's what Curt, you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I should have left. Went to Morehouse. So Perk did all that bishop stuff. It's like, I got it. It's like I went on all the trips, went on all the preaching trips and all that stuff. I got to grab back and yank it, grab the mic and blah, blah, blah. Right. But it's like, I'm not wearing this Harvard jersey for like, to impersonate.
Right.
I'm wearing it because that's where I was headed earlier.
Okay.
But just didn't know it. Know it, man. And to have you here talking about Princeton, again, man, it's like it's an intellectual conversation, because what you did, you had to, you made it work, Doc. You wrote, you wrote books.
The Lord did, Doc. The Lord did, and I was open to him. And I wanted to be obedient to the heavenly vision, Doc, and the vision that he gave me.
Man, this guy's Catholic, man. This is a Catholic bishop. The McCann's guy?
705.
Catholic.
Yeah. Is that him?
No. No. He's back all the way.
I'm about to say, they got Monsignor John J. McCann. All right, we got to find the right guy. I was like, this is the white guy.
Doc.
Well, who is that dude right there? Oh, St. Luke Baptist Church.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the One More Time broadcast brought to you by the Harmony Church, 4113 Telegraph Avenue in the city of Oakland. Happy New Year to everyone. We are grateful that you are joining us tonight on this iconic show, if you will, as we have been doing this some 40-something weeks, and we're grateful to have tonight with us the one and only Dr. Manuel Scott Jr. And Dr. Scott, we're grateful to have you tonight. I want you to know my phone is buzzing. Also, Dr. President Pleasant said you'll get a check from him this week. And so let me just put this out there right now that if anybody else wants to see Dr. Pleasant and send Pastor Scott, if you will, Dr. Scott a check, please feel free to send Dr. Scott a check and let him know that you love him and Merry Christmas. And if I had your cash up, I'll put it up. But listen, you know how to reach him. You know how to get them. If you want to be a blessing, please feel free to do it.
Thank you, Perk. Thank you for that, buddy.
Oh, yeah, man. I saw Perk. He said, hey, yo, anytime. He's like, anytime.
One of the things
whenever you need me
that we do on the show is I have a picture spirit. And so there are times where I'll pull up a picture and just ask you to expound upon it. And so since we've been talking about the book about your father, I want you to share about that real quick.
Okay, again, people had been asking me, you know, when are you going to write something on your father? And I told them I got to hear from God. And in 2010, God spoke to me and told me to put together a compilation of his brilliant quotations. And as a consequence, the book that you can now see, those of you who can visualize it, the quotable Manuel Scott Sr., Words from a Gospel Genius. And so, again, we put the book together. We organized it in such a way that people, particularly preachers, could understand it. Again, we put together his quotations, many of them dealing with evangelism, dealing with social activism, dealing with preachers per se, that kind of thing. We included 7 written sermons of his in the book that have never been under one cover. Also, because my dad's vocabulary was so prolific, I include in the book a dictionary of his words. Brothers and sisters, your vocabulary will grow 300% by getting the book. And of course, all of that, the words and the context of the words are meshed together and correlated. I also do a rather, somewhat of an extensive study of his gift of alliteration. You'll find that very, very helpful. I have a section there for young preachers in terms of the loves of my father that young preachers can benefit from. His love of the word, his love for people, his love of titles, his love of the English language, and so forth. So it's a very, very rich book. We first published it in 2010. It's still moving very, very strong. Wherever I go, particularly to new places, it does very, very well. But you'll be blessed. And those of you who remember him, you can hear his voices by reading those quotes. And then those of you who did not have a opportunity to hear him, you can see just how brilliant he was by way of his quotations.
Great. Thank you, Doc. I appreciate that.
That was great. Hey, man, look, I got a question, man.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
So it's like, I'm gonna mess with you, Dr. Scott.
Yes, sir.
Manuel Scott Jr. And I'm not gonna get the Shane Scott Award tonight.
Shane is my buddy, Doc. Shane is my buddy.
But man, look, dude, this is 2021. I'm looking at this thing on your website.
Yeah.
And it's like 2019, and you're doing a youth revival.
Yes, sir.
Man,
yes, sir.
Why are you just so eternal, bro? I mean, why is it that we just, I just see you as a young preacher, man. I know your hair is gray right now, But
It's
I
white.
promise,
It is
yeah,
moved.
white. It's white. White. All right.
It's
All right.
white now, doctor.
Right. It's white. Right. It ain't gray. It's white. Is that like a difference, like between gray and white? But man, it's just you're just eternal, bro. It's like, what's going on with that?
You know, when I was at Princeton, Curt, I appreciate that. When I was at Princeton, I would leave when I was coming home. I would leave Princeton early and go to New York because I had a lot of good friends at Union Seminary there in New York City. One of whom was one of your former guests, Warren Stewart, my dear friend, my longest church supporter that I've had. He started supporting my ministry from day one, which was in 1982. Of course, when I was pastoring, I would do his youth revival every year, every June. He would do my anniversary every April, and he would bring his church. And on the last night in Phoenix, I would have my church to come, particularly my young adult choir. But Warren was one of the gentlemen that I would stay with there at Union, and we would constantly talk about the relevancy of the gospel. But on one occasion, I had a chance to hear Gardner Taylor teach at Union. He was teaching a class, and he said something I'll never forget, Curt. I'll never forget. He said, students, never forget that the gospel, the God's revelation is always relevant. God's revelation is always relevant. Now, what we have to do some work tying in the revelation to the relevancy. Now that takes discipline to communicate to your audience, be they young people, be they older people, be they preachers, be they women, whatever the assignment may be. But always be assured, and those young preachers who perhaps are listening and looking at the program, be assured that God's revelation is always relevant. And it is our responsibility, our task, and our challenge to make it relevant. I've always, Curt, tried to be relevant.
Yes.
I've always tried to be creative. Those who remember some of my early sermons, are creative. Now, you don't want to get bizarre, but you need to be creative. Such sermons as "Who's cutting your hair?" Be careful of the traffic. On catching the wrong bus. You capture people by that by your titles, and I've worked hard on my titles, that kind of thing. But when it comes to youth revivals, because pastors are still asking me to do youth and young adult revival. I mean, and I take joy in that. I really do. One of the things I've learned in preaching to young people over the years, one thing that most young preachers do not know how to preach to young people. Most young do not know how to preach to young people because they've been the audience is so much older and they're trying to impress. And that's a whole nother issue that I've been harping on for years, that your motive for preaching will determine your style of preaching. Your motive for preaching will determine your style of preaching. But when you preach to young people, it is quite intuitive, and it's spiritually so, because you must communicate to young people that you love them. You love them. And the only way you can communicate that is that you actually love preaching to them.
Yeah. Yes.
You have to come to church. They have to see you smiling at them even before you say a word, shaking hands with them even before you say a word. You see, these kind of things has to be communicated. Again, it's spiritual, it's intuitive. Young people know who really likes them. They can pick it up. They can pick it up. Perk, I mean, you've been around long enough, Perk. You know that. They can pick it up. They can pick it up. And if you take them seriously, they will certainly take you seriously.
Wow.
No question about it.
Man, that's rich. That was rich.
Yeah, no question about it.
I want to post another picture to our listening audience, especially those that are in Facebook.
I don't know what he gonna post, Doc. I'm telling you, he be scared when he do this, man.
Well, whatever.
Okay, here we go.
Those things in Facebook. When you see this picture, if you've seen this picture on the flyer, I want you to start putting hearts up. Start putting hearts up. When you seen this picture on the flyer that he was coming to your church.
Yeah, that's it. That's it right there. Where my heart's at?
Let me see them hearts.
Where my heart's at? Where my heart's at?
You seen this picture at
Yes,
your
sir.
church, and you knew he was coming, and this picture remained the same for over 20.
Look at all the hearts, man.
Right.
It's just like they just flood, man. Like at the hearts.
I took that in Columbus, Ohio. Faith Ministries of my great friend Dr. C. Dexter Wise, who's written multitudes of books. In fact, he's a twice graduate of Harvard. A brilliant,
Awesome, man.
fella. And I took that picture there. He wanted to take a picture of me, and we took it there. And by the way, he's written 2 great books amongst many. One is called Preaching to Empty Seats.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Just recently, Preaching During the Pandemic. You want to get those books. My God. But yeah, I took that picture then many years ago. You're right, Curt. You're right. That's me. Still me.
My little brother, Roland Kirkwood, said hello.
Yeah, boy. Now, where is Curt now? Where's he? Where's he now?
He's still on staff with HB Charles. He's still there.
Okay. Yeah, with HB. That's right. Okay. Very good.
What was the guy preaching to empty seats? What's his name?
C. Dexter Wise the Third.
Okay,
C.
got you.
Dexter Wise, W-I-S-E the Third. Faith Ministries, Columbus, Ohio. Brilliant. Preaching to empty seats and preaching through the pandemic.
Hey, Perk, he said he like twice graduated from Harvard. Bro, it's like, first of all, you got to get in, right?
Right. He's legitimately
twice graduated. Just like, okay, how smart is this guy?
Oh yeah, he's brilliant. Has a brilliant. Oh yeah, no question.
Hey man, can we help? Can you help us get him on the show?
Absolutely.
Oh, let's do it.
Absolutely. He would love to do this.
Man, come on, man. That's what
He would love to do. There it is. There's the book.
There you go, Perk. Look at my man.
There it is, right
that
there.
Boy, quick.
It's brilliant. It's a small book.
Preaching
And
to
it
empty
is
seats.
brilliant. No question about it.
Wow.
Listening audience, we need to grab this book. Dr. Scott, well, Curt, I'm gonna let you ask one more, and then we'll let him close out this segment.
Okay, this segment. All right. So one more. Oh, I know. Hey man, you finally got married.
Yes, sir.
Talk about it.
3.5 years ago, married a beautiful sister. God be praised. She's a veterinarian by profession. And the Lord put us together in an amazing way. I had been married before, and I had stayed single for over 30 years.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything against remarrying, but I was not looking to remarry. I really wasn't. But I never said, I'm not gonna marry again, nothing like that. But I just wasn't looking for that. But she was so patient with me. Sweet spirit. Those who are listening, looking at me, who have met her, they know she's a very, very gentle spirit. And I tell this everywhere I go. Like I said, she's a veterinarian by profession. And when I understood that, and then I saw how pretty she was, Curt, I couldn't but to say, meow.
Like standing up on your back paws, like, she know exactly what to do, huh? Man, that's awesome, man. Yeah, that's what's up, man. That's what Evan Bernstein, man, got remarried.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah, he married the former judge.
She's not the former judge. She's I guess she's the former judge. No, she's the district attorney, man. I mean, the district attorney.
She used to be a judge.
Contra Costa County.
Right, she used to be a judge.
Yeah, well, I guess, and she's still a judge. She like the DA.
No,
She's
no.
an attorney, so she's not a judge no more. She's
I don't think so. No, no.
All right. Well, excuse my ignorance, but he got married, and I talked to him the other day. He's so happy.
I'm so happy for Al. Al needed a wife. I'm so happy.
Dude, I hope you listening tonight, Bernstein. I told him that 5 years ago. I was like, hey man, you need you a wife, man.
That's right, Doc. That's right.
And that lady that he got is dynamite.
Yeah. So
man, we good, man. I'm so glad for you, bro.
Right. I'm happy. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it was. Yeah. We had a beautiful wedding. I mean, it really was. It was quite a wedding. Quite a wedding.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, quite a wedding.
All right, I'm through, Perk. So you got
Okay.
some more to ask questions? I got some questions to ask, but I had to get that out the way, man, because again, this guy right here is iconic.
You can ask one more. Go ahead.
All right, all right. So here's one, man. You are like one of the few cats that were able to actually craft a personality and a character for yourself after such a great preacher as your father. That's so hard to do. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Curt, that is a very, very good question. I've been asked that several times, and I have several ideas on it. I've been in the ministry now 48 years, and again, full-time evangelist 38. I've known a lot of pastors. I've known a lot of pastors' sons, different denominations.
Yeah.
Most sons of legendary preachers and pastors do not make it. Most do not make it.
Right.
For various reasons. Some tragically rebel against the notoriety of their father because they felt that he did not spend enough time with them. Some move into the ministry with a sense of entitlement. They think that because your last name may be Sampson, or your last name may be Scott, or your last name may be Clark, or Blake, or whatever, they are automatically entitled to something. That is a terrible mistake. I can assure you, while your name will get you into the door, it is your own gifts that will keep you in the room. You follow me? That's
Sir,
what
I follow you.
I've discovered. Now, for me, I have so much of my mother's spirit. My mother was extremely independent. She was raised that way. She taught all of us how to be independent. And so I've always wanted to make it on my own. I appreciated my dad's legacy. In fact, I told you I wrote a book about it.
Right.
All of that.
But I have that book.
I wanted to make it for myself. And that's because of my mother's independent spirit, which fell on me. And so that's why I could rejoice when my dad was alive. I could rejoice in his legacy, was proud of him, wanted him to be proud of me. But I wanted to make it for myself. But it's extremely hard for again, sons of legendary pastors to make it for those said reasons I've just stated. Extremely hard. And most do not make it.
Yeah.
Most do not make it. No, they don't. No.
Yeah.
And it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy.
Yeah, it is. I don't know. Maybe somebody should write on that one day. And because you look at pastors as such, right? Caesar Clark.
I was at Bishop when Caesar Jr. was there.
Oh, were you?
Yes. He was.
Wow, man.
Yeah, he was a very nice guy. Now the word is that Dr. Clark gave him everything. In terms of things, gave him everything he wanted.
Yeah, I heard that too.
That's who I've had the privilege of running revivals with. Dr. Jesse says that your children really don't need your presence, presents. They need your presence.
Wow.
presence. Tremendous statement and tremendous insight. But Caesar Jr. never did make it. I could call names of those who never did make, and I can call names of some who are clowns.
Their parents.
Who are just clowns. They're
like
clowns.
You didn't even say Perk. He didn't even say. He said I was trying to get him to go like probably want a cracker. He's like, no, bozo. He said, clown, Doc.
Yeah, they've made a mockery. They've made a mockery of their father's name. They've made a mockery.
Wow, man.
Yeah, yeah. So, but I won't.
You haven't. You haven't. You haven't.
Yeah.
You know,
well, I tried not to. Like I said, I wanted to make it for myself.
you haven't.
Yeah, I wanted to do that. And
we have about 5 minutes left on the actual radio show. What I would like you to do, Dr. Scott, if you could just tell the people where they can find you on your website, and then
okay.
just could you just leave an encouraging word? This is the first Sunday of the year, 2021. Just share some encouragement with the people.
Okay. If you'd like to reach me, and if you'd like to, you mentioned contributing to the ministry, we have our Cash App, and that's $ Manuel Scott Jr., Manuel Scottjr, $ Manuel Scott Jr. Our website is www.manuelscottjr.org. Our email is manuelscottjr@yahoo.com. And of course, our P.O. Box is P.O. Box 8865, Los Angeles, California, 90008. So we'd love to hear from you in any shape, form, or fashion. I guess, Perk, my word would be 1 Corinthians 15 and 58, given this time. That would be one word. Be ye steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord. For as much as ye know that your labor is not in vain in the Lord. That's one word. Maybe another word. God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind. Let's make it a Trinitarian word. Let's do it this way. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all of thine heart. Lean not unto thine own understanding. In all of thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. That's great. We have a few minutes left. To our listening audience, give that Cash App again one more time, Dr. Scott.
Yeah, $ Manuel Scott Jr.
Okay. For those that want to contribute or sow seed into the ministry, you can do that. I'm going to post it up on the Facebook page and pin it. And then as soon as we are out of this segment, Dr. Scott is going to share some excerpts from his vital lessons from the virus. So I want to encourage us all to stay online, share, start watch parties, if you will. To our listening audience that's on the radio, I want to say thank you for starting the year off with us again as we begin this 40th year. We plan on trying to do something big for show number 50. And so God will keep us
number 50
in a way from show number.
Good.
On this
Unbelievable
broadcast, and we give him thanks that he's continuing to bless us with just guests from all over the world, and they've always been a blessing. So, Dr. Scott, we say thank you for our STRadio.com listeners that they've been able to hear you on tonight. And as soon as we close this segment, we will go right into Perk and Curt. Curt, anything you want to say before we go off?
I'm good, man. I want to thank everybody for just hanging with us this year. It's a new year, 2021. We're going forward, man. I want to thank God for my host, A.L. Perkins. Man, God bless you, bro. You know what I'm saying? You make my life better every day we talk. That's all I got to say. And Dr. Scott, man, I don't even know what to say, man.
Bless you, man. Bless you.
You're the best. I'm sending you an offering right now. I'm doing it.
Well, God bless you, boy. You're going to heaven. Bless you, Curt.
I'm trying.
Bless you, boy.
To our listening audience, we want to say thank you again for starting the year off with us. Catch us next week, same time. We'll be here on the One More Time broadcast brought to you by the Harmony Church, 4113 Telegraph Ave in the city of Oakland. So listen,
Oakland.
my time. Thank you for your time. I hope y'all catch me next time. Have a good night. Hey, Happy New Year, and let's have a great year on this broadcast every Sunday night, 6 o'clock, KSTradio.com. Jose, take us out.
Jose!
All right. So let me give the segue to introduction to the after show. And that's called the Perk and Curt show that we're on right now. Perk and Curt show. We signed off the radio, and now we're on the Perk and Curt show that is on airing on Facebook and YouTube simultaneously at the same time. And so to our listening audience, thank you for joining with us tonight. Want to encourage you to like and share. Start watch parties. If you know any young preachers, any pastors that you know, type their name in the comments, and that will immediately grab their attention, and they will come immediately to the show. So if you know any preachers, pastors, friends that you want to hear the last part of the show, if you will, just put their names in the comments, and they'll immediately be brought into the show. So what we're going to do at this time, we're just going to let Dr. Scott go. Let him loose. Let him do what he do. He has a new book that's out entitled Vital Lessons from the Virus. And we want you, the listening audience, to just be blessed by his ministry on tonight as he shares whatever the Lord puts on his heart to share, and continue to share the broadcast, continue to invite friends, type their name in the inbox, and that would immediately bring them into the show. And let's sit back and be blessed tonight. And he's going pretty much, as we would say, it's in your hands now, Doc.
It's in your hands.
Thank you, Pastor Curt and Perk. Thank you so much again for inviting me to be here to share with you. I've had a lot of fun with each and every one of you. And we thank God for this opportunity. As Pastor Perkins has mentioned, we have put together a new lecture speaking to what we're going through now relative to the pandemic. It is entitled Vital Lessons from the Virus, What God is Saying to Us Through the COVID-19 Crisis. It's moving very, very well. And we hope all of you who do not have it will get a copy, and perhaps get multiple copies. We've had good friends from around the country. John Reed comes to mind, Dr. John Reed, Oklahoma City. He has bought 25 copies himself and shared them with preachers there in Oklahoma City, and several other pastors have brought multiple copies. But in that lecture, I deal with several things. Primarily, I deal with 12 major issues. I'm not going to go through all of those issues. I can give you a preview of some, and then I'll probably, in rather detail, go through one issue that's very close to my heart. One of the issues, in fact, is the first issue that I deal with. It is entitled A Season of Exposure. What this pandemic is doing, it is exposing things and people for who they really are and for who they have always been. Everything and everybody now is being exposed. The government, the president, and when I say the president, I'm talking about the former president, Donald Trump. The church is being exposed. Preachers are being exposed. Friends are being exposed. This is a season of exposure. Curt and Perk, I have long maintained that fame, fortune, popularity, sickness do not change people. They always expose people. They bring out of them what has always been the case. And I say in the lecture that one of the best ways you can tell a crooked stick from a straight, put it this way, one of the best ways you can discern just how crooked a crooked stick is, just place it next to a straight stick. Amen. And it will be exposed. Another issue I deal with in the lecture is entitled Social Distancing as a Metaphor. Social distancing as a metaphor. We are told that during the pandemic, in order to remain safe and healthy, we need to distance ourselves from one another. Most are saying 6 feet, some are saying 10 feet, but we need to have social distance between people for the sake of our health and our safety. Well, I maintain that after the pandemic is over, there are still some people who you need to keep your distance from in order to stay healthy, in order to stay safe. Then I have a piece in here entitled When the Masks Come Off. When the Masks Come Off. What will it reveal about you and your Christian walk when the masks come off? Everybody is being hidden now by masks. I preached today at my home church, Calvary Church.
Manuel Scott Jr.,
And
what are you talking about?
I couldn't recognize because the mask covered their faces. But oh, when the masks come off, what will it reveal about you and your Christian behavior, your Christian walk? And then I have a piece. I have, like I said, 12 pieces, but I have a very, very important piece that I really would like to read from the lecture. It is ethnocentric in that it deals with our people. It is entitled Our Pronounced Proclivity as a People to Survive Any Crisis. Our pronounced proclivity, which means tendency as a people to survive any crisis. I open up with the National Negro Anthem. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. Here's a statement, very, very important, by the great Christian ethicist and mystic, Dr. Howard Thurman. If perchance the contradictions of life are not ultimate, then there is always the growing edge of hope in the midst of the most barren and tragic circumstances. All right, let's move on. Let me give you some background here. From the agony of being raped and ripped from the motherland Africa, from the trauma of the Middle Passage where hundreds of thousands of our people perished, from the drama of being drenched in the worst form of slavery known to humankind, from the hypocrisy of the Reconstruction and the ferocious brutality of Jim Crowism, from the year of 1919, the despicable year of strange fruit, when more than any other year our people were viciously hanged, from experiencing the madman and pathological buffoonery of Donald Trump. Our people have miraculously survived and displayed, watch this now, an uncanny ontological and existential elasticity. This penchant and proclivity for astounding survival, I submit to you, has taken place because of the following related factors. 3 factors. First of all, we've had a prolific sense of positivity. Secondly, we've had an august sense of altruism. And thirdly, we've had a triumphant sense of transcendence. All right, let's deal with our prolific sense of positivity. Here's a statement by Norman Vincent Peale. Become a possibilitarian, no matter how dark things seem to be or actually are. Raise your sights and see possibilities. Always see them, for they are always there. We as a people have always survived any crisis because in the main, we have been undeterred individual and collective possibilitarians. Oh, yes, we have. That is to say, we as a people primarily have not settled for the mud of negativity. We have always soared on the wings of positivity. All right? Philippians 4:13 declares, find Paul saying, I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me. Amen. That's a chief example of a positive attitude. As a people, we have always agreed with the positive advice of Langston Hughes, who happens to be my favorite African-American poet, when he articulated in his poem, Stars. He says, reach up your hand, dark boy, and take a star. As a people, we have always ascribed to the positive wisdom of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who said, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving. But now, our second piece relative to our proclivity to survive any crisis deals with our august sense of altruism. Our august sense of altruism. Altruism is the belief and practice of selfless concern for the welfare of others. That's what altruism is all about. It's the belief and practice of selfless concern for the welfare of others. And the genius of our people, especially in times of crisis, is that ultimately we have always reached out to help one another, an impulse that has surely advanced our survival. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. says, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Dr. Booker T. Washington declared, a race like an individual lifts itself up by lifting others up. All right. And then our final piece relative to our pronounced proclivity as a people to survive any crisis is a triumphant sense of transcendence. Now, the word transcendence, for those of you who perhaps are not aware of, for our purposes, refers to a highly personal and emotionally gripping God consciousness that surpasses all the limitations of the political and material world. And in this engrossing God consciousness, and let me put it this way, this engrossing God consciousness has inextricably and intrinsically informed our positivity and altruism as a people. This means that as a people who have been constantly subjected to the assaults of racism, violence, poverty, and abject dehumanization, would never have been able to think positive, that's positivity, and have the desire to come to the aid of one another, that's altruism, had we not been consumed and motivated by our conviction that God was real, personal, and more than able to rectify our situation. That's transcendence. We as a people have always believed what Abraham Joshua Heschel has expressed: God is of no importance unless God is of supreme importance. We as a people have always believed, according to Michael J. Cheatham, and I quote, a person without faith has no future. We as a people have always agreed with James N. Washington, who said, and I quote, religion has been a central way for us to maintain our sanity. Concluding remark. During the horrific COVID-19 season, during this horrific COVID-19 season, where so many African Americans are being hit the hardest by the virus, we as a people must unfailingly remember that the very precepts that have heretofore inspired us to overcome one crisis after another, after another, after another, are the same precepts that will, for certain, bring us through this corona crisis. A prolific sense of positivity, an august sense of altruism, a triumphant sense of transcendence. Our mothers and fathers of old used to say, over my head, I hear music in the air. Over my head, I hear music in the air. For there must be a God.
That must. Wow.
All right. That's our presentation in a nutshell right there.
Okay.
Let me say to the listening audience, you definitely want to get a copy of this vital lessons from the virus that Dr. Scott has put together. I want to encourage the listening audience also. This is a time of our show where we do take questions. If you do have questions
ton of questions out there, bro. I already saw them, bro.
Dr. Scott to
There's a ton of questions.
feel free to write them in the comment box, and we'll do our best to get to as many of them as we can. Ticey Brown just came on.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's nice.
From Mount Tabor, amen. Yeah, LA. Yeah. So if any of you have any questions, if you saw some questions, Curt, go ahead and read them. I don't see it.
I'm trying to find them, man. I was like writing down some of my questions, man.
Yeah.
So I mean, just let's get to, you know, you quoted. Okay, so possibilitarian.
Right.
So talk about that, Brother Scott. You know, what is that construct like when you say we must be possibilitarians? What are we talking about?
Okay, that's a mentality that says that no matter what happens, you're going to be positive and you're going to be progressive. The great explorer David Livingstone has made a statement that has become one of my favorite. He has said that I will go anywhere as long as it is forward. I'll go anywhere as long as it is forward. Forward.
Wow,
yes,
man.
Yes. It's a mentality. And again, you know, Paul, you know, and the whole Bible speaks of believers being possibilitarians. I can do all things through Christ who strengtheneth me. Possibilitarians. I have been young, now I'm old, but I've never seen the righteous forsaken nor this begging bread. Possibilitarians.
Wow. So you used, you used a. So I'm trying to one I did not pick up. All right. So you use triumphalism. Okay.
Yeah.
A sense of that, and you also, I'm looking at my notes here. You know, you talked about. So we talked about the possibilitarianism, right? You know, and you talked about our pronounced proclivity to survive any crisis.
Yes.
What are you pointing to on that?
Okay, again, those 3 points, Kirk, have helped us to survive any crisis. Being positive, caring for one another, and then having a legitimate God consciousness. All of those 3 have worked in our benefit. You cannot help to be positive if you've been born again. That's a part of being close to the Holy Ghost. Amen. The kingdom knows nothing of a defeatist attitude. Paul says we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. You cannot really be saved unless you have a positive attitude. If you find yourself not having a positive attitude, in other words, having a defeatist attitude, that means that you are not as close to the Lord as you need to be. The closer you get to Jesus, the more positive he will make you. Perk, am I saying something here?
Why are you laughing, Perk? Why are you laughing, man?
Because that's what, listen.
Oh, dude.
What's so amazing is how the bloodline is strong. Because remember the book, he says that he writes about his dad are these quotes. We're hearing some statements, some quotes tonight, man, that only Manuel Scott says.
Right.
Yeah, for whatever they're worth. You're right.
Man, they're worth a lot, man. I remember that first time I heard your daddy preach at the St. John Church, and he preached about a penny. And you remember that sermon, right?
Yes, sir.
He had 1 penny, right? And then, but somewhere along the line, the whole row of freshmen who had just made it to bishop, which is wiped out. We went back on the campus, and it was like, not only have I ever heard that, like that, but I never seen it
Okay, like that.
I never, that looked like when I talked to you about the intensity.
Right.
You know, I don't, you know, I preach, but man, that is something else, man. It's like I don't know how to describe it, man. It's about that much energy,
right,
into about that much body,
right,
and it's
right,
like explosion,
right,
you
right,
know.
right.
And so there had to be, for you to say, I had to break out and find something to do, right, to be independent. To hear you just say that, it's just like, it should be like liberating to everybody, right? Because, you know, we don't need to be parrots. You know,
Right.
God has given us an individual narrative,
Right.
and that's what we need to dig into. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, here again, you have to realize that particularly as preachers, in particular, but as human beings in general, God has given you certain gifts and certain skill sets that you need to discover what they are for yourself. He has done that. He has not given one man everything. He has given all of us something. Um, Now, let me just say this while I'm on it, because I've been saying it for some time now. The Lord is just keeps bringing it back in my spirit. Curt and Perk, what I've discovered, having dealing with so many young preachers for so long, I taught in the California State Convention for 40 years. For 40 years. Papa Hill asked me in the early 80s to be the Bible instructor, and I reluctantly agreed, and I'm glad I did, because I grew so much in doing that. But what I've discovered is that most young preachers are so busy trying to be somebody else instead of discovering who they are. In that regard, let me say this. So many preachers would do much better if they had a recalibration of their sense of fascination. Let me say that again. If they had a recalibration of their sense of fascination. What I mean here is that so many young preachers are doing poorly because they are fascinated with the wrong preachers. They are emulating and imitating the wrong preachers. Instead of discovering who they are by way of what God has gifted them to be. It is a huge problem, a huge problem. Most young preachers, again, need a recalibration of their sense of fascination. They need to change who they've been fascinated with and get a new role model, get a new hero. They'll be much better, because the proper hero will tell them, no, don't try to be like me. Try to be like Jesus, and then discover your own gifts.
Right. I heard Dr. Ralph West say back actually last year at the PNBC convention, which I'm a member of, as well as the Faith Church.
Okay.
But he was closing out, and he was saying, these preachers be saying, I want to be like Ralph West, right? But he said, you don't know what I've been through.
Right.
You know, you don't know what it's like to be put out of your house.
Right.
By a church.
Right.
With your wife and kids.
Right.
But now you want to be like me.
Yeah.
So, you know, there must be something that we're not looking at, you know, that's relative, right? For you to say that, right, there must be something that we're not looking at relative. Do you think that it is our westernized concept of religion and theology that may be pointing us in an obtuse direction?
Absolutely, Curt. Absolutely. We've raised up a generation of preachers who I call charisma fugitives. Charisma fugitives. They have strayed so far from the charisma, and by that, without getting too technical, by the basic tenets of the faith, the basic tenets of the faith, the virgin birth of Jesus, his crucifixion and resurrection, his problem with money, his problem with titles. When the people wanted to make him king, he literally ran from them. Dealing with the charisma, we got too many charisma fugitives, and that has tremendously negatively affected the gospel. Let me put it another way that I've been putting it this way for some time. We've raised up a generation of preachers, Curt, who have the eloquence and the erudition of a Demosthenes and a Cicero, but the morals of an alley cat.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
We're not interested in living well. All right, watch this. We have all of these great conferences that teach preachers how to preach. All of them. I just preached for R.A. Williams. I preach for R.A. That's another one I preach for every year. Two or three Sundays ago. His conference, Frank Ray's conference, E.K. Bailey's conference, and many other conferences, great conferences that teach preachers in one way or another how to preach. But we do not have one major conference that teaches preachers how to live. How to live.
Wow, man.
And it is having a tremendously negative impact on the ministry. That's why we're so arrogant and so egotistical and so competitive. I call it the AJ factor. The AJ factor. Let me explain that quickly. The AJ factor refers to arrogance, jealousy, fueled by a competitive neurosis that has rendered the Black pulpit a virtual disaster zone. That's where we are. That's why we, as preachers, that's why we're so crazy. We're too arrogant, we're too jealous of one another, and we're far too competitive. I've written a lecture many years ago, and you would probably remember it, entitled "Preacher, Wait Your Turn."
Yes.
Right. I've done Preacher, Wait Your Turn 2, and just recently I've done Preacher, Wait Your Turn 3. And the subtitle is The Curse of Clergy Cannibalism. The curse of clergy cannibalism. We keep eating each other up instead of being about the business of the kingdom. We're worried about this person getting more press than we get. We're worried about this person whose name is being voiced by people more than their name. All of that kind of foolishness. Because we're not about the business of the kingdom.
Dr. Perkins?
Come to Jesus.
He like opening up the doors and right now I'm in. I'm raising my hands.
You can come out later. You come out, Christian. Nobody need to come tonight. Though your sins be in scarlet.
Perk said somebody needs to come tonight.
Nobody need to come tonight.
He'll wash you. He'll wash you. White as snow. If he don't wash you white as snow, he'll wash you white as Dr. Scott's hair.
Dr. Scott. Dr. Scott.
All right, Curt, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you for that.
Man. Listen. I'm just.
I think we made history tonight, bro.
Listen, man. You are my mother. My mother just graduated a couple weeks ago and received her master's in her 70s.
Wow, isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, it is.
Now, first, be sure to tell her I personally said congratulations.
She just heard you say it again.
Congratulations, my dear. God bless you.
That's
for
what's
that.
up. Yeah, amen.
God bless you for that.
She just wrote a word and said, "You are phenomenal." My mother went to Centennial High in Compton, so she was knowing you for a long time.
Right. We played them in football when I was at Dorsey High, Doc.
Yeah.
Dude, we like going back in time.
That's right.
And man,
oh, that's totally awesome, dude.
This has to be, and this is no joke. No, I'm not saying this, Dr. Scott, to gas you up. And Curt, you will back me on. This show has been just as good as Cornell West.
Yes, sir.
Oh, bless you.
I mean that.
Yeah, yes, sir.
I think the transparency of being able to just share and still relate to these people, wonderful viewers and listeners, and be relevant. I'm sure everybody that's here that's been listening on this show.
Dude, Epps on the line, dude from Chicago. What's up, Epps? What's up, dog?
Yeah. Curt, tell Epps that the Lord's been looking for him.
I would tell him, dude. I would tell him right now.
But
that's my
this
brother.
has been a rich time, and I know we're the better for it. And I just man, I'm speechless. I really am.
No, not you, Perk. You can't be speechless, Reverend.
Yeah, you're right. You kind of like he got a point there. And I think brother Scott,
yes,
because I'm a little bit older than Perk, right? So I was kind of in that first generation of guys at the California State Baptist Convention. Me, Harry Ford, Sean Teal,
right?
Jarvis Collier,
right? Just talked Jarvis last week.
Oh, really, man? Man, how's he doing, man? We'd love to get Jarvis on this show too, man.
Yeah.
You were like I said, you were like the young sensation, and we were young, but you were young, right? And so I think what, Perk is saying, man, we're just so overwhelmed, by your gift. And like tonight, we're like the rediscovering, what your gift has been to the body of Christ, especially when it comes to young preachers, because I don't think that there is, if I go to the Northwest, right? And, I don't think there's any preachers that has not been impacted regionally, by you and, because of your personality, you know what I mean? Because you're so approachable, right? You just make everybody feel like they're a friend, and for those who would gander to go deeper than that, you have been that too. So I think that's what Perk is saying when he says, I don't have words. I'm barely trying to find words myself, because I just continue to remember, man, that when I was 19 and you said the most powerful thing to me, he said, man, decide what kind of preacher you're going to be.
Right.
And I made my mind up. It's like at least about one thing, which meant that I was going to be a preacher. I was going to read some books.
Beautiful.
I don't know about nothing else.
Beautiful.
I said I was going to do that, man. But that was like a major league direction, man. And then looking at all the guys coming on, Epps, in Chicago and these other cats, man, it's just your reach, man, is phenomenal. I guess that's what we're saying, man,
Bless God. And I appreciate that. I really do. I'm trying to do my part. Now, I promise you that. I'm trying to do my part. And again, I just thank you and Perk for giving me this opportunity to share. That's mighty big.
That's big on Perk, man.
I want to kind of, as we kind of bring it on in, I want you to kind of talk about this anniversary that you have coming up, because I know that to these many listeners that we definitely want to do whatever we can to be a part, to just help celebrate you and your ministry, because as Curtis said, you've touched so many people. Never in my life have I seen, California State Baptist Convention, 8:00 in the morning, and being one of the presidents to make sure things are flowing right. And I'm having to find a bigger room, or we got to move. at 8 o'clock in the room. I'm in the morning. Perk, we gotta get a bigger. We gotta. Can you call? Can you get them to come move the partitions back? Because what we thought was gonna be enough room is not enough, and we end up going from 400 to 800 in Bible study at 8 in the morning doing the California State Baptist Convention. I mean, those were the best calls to get, the best problems to have.
Right. We need more room.
Yeah, you know.
Ep said he found you. Ep said, tell Doc he found me tonight through this show. All right. So I guess he's doing something. So he found the Lord tonight.
Braxton said hello, man. Braxton said hello.
All your boys, Doc, you, man, look, I ain't lying, man. Yeah. I mean, Perk, if we like actually said we're gonna have a show for Dr. Scott and then everybody like chime in, we wouldn't have no room for it, would we?
No, we wouldn't.
Yeah, we wouldn't have room.
So that's why I want him to kind of talk. I don't know if you heard me. Braxton said hello, Scott. Braxton.
Who's that?
Braxton, the retiree Braxton, Anthony Braxton.
Oh yeah, my main man. Yeah, my main man.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Man.
You're coming up on the 40th anniversary.
Yeah.
Of being the first full-time, and I want y'all to hear what I'm saying. The first full-time evangelist that has been doing this for 40 years consistently strong, that his income, his trust in God was preaching and is preaching across the country, trusting that God will touch the hearts of the people, that he can continue to make a living by literally
right.
The Black Billy Graham.
Now, when Billy Graham was alive, a couple of things. He had my dad to preach at one of his meetings, and he was so moved by
mercy.
Wow.
Lord have mercy.
He was so moved by my dad's preaching until he asked my dad to bless his home by spending the night with him.
Wow.
My dad told me that he went to North Carolina, and Billy Graham lived on a big old hill. He had two dogs, two German Shepherd dogs that only understood German. One was for the outside, one was for the inside. And my dad said that he heard that dog on the inside walking all night. He never got one wink of sleep. That dog. But anyway.
Did he preach about that somewhere? I would have loved to heard that alliteration.
Yeah. But 40 years in 2 years, Lord lets me live. We're going to celebrate it. We want it to be in Los Angeles. We want to have a service. I'm still piecing it together in terms of the speakers, dear friends who are
doing the invitation. I'm gonna pray. So,
can I just carry your bag, man?
Right. All right.
Carry your cellophane. I don't know, man. This is a pandemic. I don't even know how to.
Just let me
walk right now. It's like
let me help
saran wrap.
Let me direct it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We're gonna work it out. And so it would just be celebrating 40 years of what we've been trying to do. And of course, when we first started out, people, friends and haters said that I wouldn't last 2 or 3 months. I was crazy and that kind of thing, but they had not checked with God. I had, and God did it. This is a God thing, no question about it. So we want to have a great celebration. We're going to open it up to all our friends around the nation and even the world, and to many of our friends in so many different denominations. I asked the Lord about 15 years ago to open up other denominations for me. I just didn't want to preach to Baptists. I've been a Baptist all my life, will always be one, because I believe our doctrine is biblical. So it's no need for me to change, but I know that denominations are man-made. They're not mentioned in the Bible at all. And so God has other members of his family in other denominations. And the Lord has been quite faithful in terms of me speaking to other denominations. So we'll have all of those come in.
That's
coaching
great.
people, AMEs, CMEs, some of my dearest friends are in those denominations. In fact, I had the privilege of doing a revival in Bermuda last year. The
Bless,
love
bless his
of
name. Bless his name.
mine who I went to Princeton with is a presiding elder of the major conference over there, and I've been his preacher everywhere he's gone. New York, New Jersey, and when they shifted him to Bermuda, he said, "Scott, you coming over here?" I said, "Oh man, would love to." And what a beautiful revival we had. So we're gonna have people from everywhere to come just to celebrate what the Lord has done with the ministry, that kind of thing. So that's basically it. And of course, as time goes on, Perk, I'll give you more details, but that's in a nutshell what it is. By the way, let me say this even now. My dear friend, president of our National Baptist Convention, USA Incorporated, Dr. Jerry Young, who I just saw in late November when I was there.
I need his information. I need to get him on the show.
Okay, all right. Some years ago, he was so kind to appoint me as the official national evangelist for our National Baptist Convention.
Amen.
That was so kind of him. And what he did, he simply officialized what I've been doing all along. That's all. That's what he did. And I wear that title with a great deal of humility and honor, because that's another first that has never been done. But yeah, Doc, but in 2 years, we're going to have that kind of celebration, and we want everybody to be a part of it.
Now, let me ask you this, and I'll be done with my questions.
No,
okay.
Go ahead, man.
So one of the things that has hurt the Black church in so many ways, and this is my lead way into my question. For some odd reason, we don't never like to talk about succession. And I want you just to kind of touch on the importance of succession. And when you see that you're coming to that time where you're ready to say, I've gone far enough, will you pray for a successor?
In terms of what I'm doing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I certainly will. In fact, I talked with a young man last week who shocked me by saying, I want to be a full-time evangelist just like you. I did not know that. And so he and I are going to begin to meet at least once a month. And he wants me to kind of mentor him in some basics. But again, relative to what I'm doing, again, you cannot choose it. It has to choose you. You have to be anointed for this. You have to be able to handle planes. You have to be able to be away from home for weeks at a time. But more than that, you have to have, I guess we would say, the skill set to be able to relate to enough preachers so that they have no problems inviting you. I mean, there are great preachers everywhere. They can invite anybody. Right. Great preachers. But for a great number of them to invite you so that your ministry can be viable, you have to have yourself together. And it's all about relationships. Perk and Curt, you know that. When all is said and done, it's all about relationships. And so, but I'm willing to mentor this young man. No question about it. But we've had that problem in our denomination. No question about it. I admire Dr. Ephraim Williams for having Kenny Reese in line for many years. It was no secret, and he made it plain that he's going to be my heir. God says the same. And praise be to God. The transition was very, very smooth. I admire Dr. Bobby Newman Sr.
Right. Absolutely.
Who let the people know that I would love for my son to succeed me. However, I'm going to open up the pulpit for anyone else who desires it. That was very, very wise. Very, very wise. And I've commended Bobby Sr. for having done that.
Right.
But you know, Perk, the problem with so many pastors is that they inevitably make the mistake that the church, particularly if they've had a long tenure, is their church. They forget that it's God's church. And they tend to stay too long. It no longer becomes a spiritual matter, it becomes an emotional matter. And
Wow.
when a pastor moves from spirituality to emotionalism, there's going to be problems. Because as he goes down, the church
goes down.
And so we need to have classes to teach preachers that you cannot make that mistake. You cannot cross that line. You have to stay spiritual and remember that the church, first and foremost, it's God's church, and that all of God's servants have had a tenure. And when your time comes, it's time for you to move on, but also even before you move on, you ought to be grooming someone to take your. Yeah.
Amen. That's great. Hey, I want to ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
I just had an image that popped in my head. So I'm like, again, I'm at Bishop College. I'm going to Concord.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so you're on at Concord that week. Right. And so, Dr. Bailey has you on Sunday morning.
Right.
Right. And it was I've known you from the state, from California, right? But again, that's how when I started preaching, I went straight to Bishop College, right?
Right. Okay.
And so I saw you again in Dallas, man. And I want you to talk about your relationship with E.K. Bailey, because the moment, so Dr. Bailey introduces you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he grabs the mic, hey, Perk, he grabbed the mic. Look at Matt, Doc from the left right now. He grabbed the mic, Doc. He like, Manuel Scott Sr., Junior, Princeton was at Bishop, and he gonna come preach. Dude, he grabbed the mic and I know he played it. He just yanks it down, right, about 5 inches. Right, and then Doc get up to preach, but then watch what happens. He I saw this little punch, on the side, he hit him in the side, boy, crazy, man, But talk about your relationship with him and, and Bishop,
Yeah, well, I met him when I was at Bishop, when I went to there in 1967. I was not a preacher, but all of those preachers were so enamored with my dad. And so they immediately took me in, and I ended up gravitating to them, although I was not a preacher, but I hung around them more than anybody else. But I still didn't have the calling on me, but I appreciated their personalities. E.K. Bailey, L.A. Kazee, Melvin Wade, all of them were there.
Right, the crew.
Yeah, they were all there. And when I was elected freshman class president, Bailey was elected sophomore class president.
Okay.
So we would always have a friendly competition in that regard, because the sophomores the class was so much smaller than mine. I'll never forget, Bailey would come down to the room and we'd talk. I had the pleasure of introducing him to Khalil Gibran's book, The Prophet. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, it's a great book, and he wasn't aware of it, and I introduced him to it. But I shall never forget. He needed a shave, and so he wanted to shave in my room, and of course I had a razor. But what he did, he picked up a tube of Brill cream instead of shaving cream.
That's a crazy story.
That's right, and he put
the Bishop College story, bro.
Brill cream on. I said, EK, do you know what you're doing? What are you talking about, man? I said, man, that is he said, all foot. That was one of his favorite words, all foot. But when I first came to Bishop, they didn't have my room ready. And so that night I ended up staying with EK. Spent the night with him. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So we had a running relationship over the years, because he was close to my dad, very much so, much, as well as W.K. Jackson. Does that name strike a bell to you?
W.K.
Jackson, St. John Baptist Church, Oklahoma City.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, great pastor. And in fact, Bailey was his godson, and that took a liking to me, and wanted me to come and speak. I wasn't a preacher, but speak for their youth days and that kind of thing. So, so that's how far back we go.
Yeah.
We would argue over ideas and what have you, that kind of thing. But yeah.
Guys don't really know his story a lot, like in Oakland, and just to hear you, talk about it, man. It's like, man, E.K. Bailey, man, a tremendous story, bro. People don't even know how he was homeless at one point, before he went to Bishop College.
I knew that, Curt. I don't know if I knew that he was homeless at one point. I remember my dad telling me about his dad and what a great preacher, what an awesome preacher his father was. My dad would tell me that all the time. He said, "Now Bailey is good." He said, "But his dad was brilliant."
Wow.
B.M. Bailey. My dad would.
B.M. 7th Avenue.
Never had a chance to meet him. Bailey's dad. No, I never did. But no, I didn't know Bailey was homeless at one point. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, he used to tell us, he's like, before he came to Bishop, because what happened with him and his dad, he was kind of messed up in the head.
That was tragedy. Yeah, that was tragedy.
It was tragedy. It was.
Yeah, and he was like sleeping in cars and stuff. He was like, I was sleeping in cars. Wow. And then he ended up at Bishop, man. And that's a trip, Perk. We talk about this, like the greatness of the shoulders that we stand on. And again, what's iconic is to have Manuel Scott Jr., on the phone, and I can say, "Oh yeah, I remember when me and EK was students at Bishop College, and he had Brill cream on his face." I know Todd Wheelock is getting a kick out of that right now. We always talk about them stories, man. I was like, I had to preach somewhere, Dr. Scott. I didn't have a shirt. I go at Bishop. I was like, I didn't have a shirt. I said, Todd, I need a shirt. Todd was like, look in the closet. And
see, isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful?
A shirt and went to go preach it. Then came back, they got the honorarium. I said, now let's go eat.
That's what they would do. I remember that. I go hear him preaching, and whoever preached received the honorarium, and he would ceremonially take everybody out to dinner, eat some chicken.
Yeah, let's go to Popeyes up the street, man.
Good chicken.
Awesome. Yeah, man, good chicken, man. I'm good, Perk. Somebody
Posted it, and I'll be done. They said, Dr. Manuel Scott, the Corvette preacher.
He's fast, man.
Well, Dr. Scott, listen, it's been rich. It's been a great show. I'm sure this will go down as one of the top 5 that we've had.
Oh, man.
Our 39 weeks of being together.
Man, I just commend you and Curt for having the show, man. I wasn't aware of it. Yeah. And this is something, man. Y'all are doing a tremendous job.
Thank you.
Be encouraged, man. I just thank you for including me tonight. I've had a lot of fun, Doc. I've had a lot of fun.
Well, I know a lot of people have been blessed just from hearing the transparency, just seeing the other side of Manuel Scott, and it's been real. Like I said, we'll be definitely in contact because we want to be able to push you. The Lord has blessed us because of this show. We've signed with another major radio station. We come on Sundays at 3:00 on gospel1190.com. And it's called the Perk and Curt Show. And so
wow.
Want to be able to push whatever you got going, whatever we can do to support the ministry over the airways, we'll definitely do that.
Appreciate that. I'll be calling on you down the road.
For sure.
Awesome, man.
So go ahead and
I will answer.
Give just some closing words to the many people that's listening on tonight.
Well, I want to thank
all over the country.
Right. I want to thank all of the men who are listening, who have opened up their pulpits to me for the last almost 40 years in one way or another. I appreciate them having confidence in me, and I hope I was a blessing when I came. I'm very sensitive to pastors, having been one. So I just want to thank all of the men for their generosity in opening up their pulpits and permitting me to exercise my gift. It's just beautiful. And for all of the lay people who perhaps are listening, I thank them for their support and their concern and showing up when I would come to a particular city. Oakland has always been a great city for my ministry. Ever since the mid 70s, when J. Alfred Smith Sr. First brought me in to do the revivals at Allen Temple. And of course, I started revivals at Third Baptist there in San Francisco. That opened up everything. So I've been in Northern California for so many years, and so many men, some of whom are gone now, have been so kind to this ministry. So I just want to thank all of the men who've been great towards this ministry. And thank you again, Perk, and thank you again, Curt.
All right, Curt, you want to say?
Awesome. Man, I'm good, man. I'm like, man, Doc, I just want to let you know I love you, man.
Love you, man.
You mean so much to all of us. And, Perk, to my host, I just got to give you, bro, you was lights out on this one, dog. You was lights out on this one, man. This is like.
Well, look, before we sign off,
what's up, man?
I want to say thank you to Dr. Scott again. Thank you to my balance, Pastor Curt. And many of you supported our first ever virtual 2021 Word Explosion on January 1st. And I just want to say thank you for supporting that. 38 preachers over 16 hours. It was a success. We started at 8 a.m. on Friday morning and went till 1:30 a.m. Saturday.
Can I get to follow the one I preached, man? I heard everybody else think except for me, dude. I was like,
it was on there, dog.
But it was some awesome preachers that was up, bro.
But to our listening audience, to you that are listening, if you did have a chance to hear it, can you just put that hashtag 2021 Word Explosion California, 2021 Word Explosion Oakland. I just want to see how many were able to be able to witness it and be a part of it. It's still on YouTube. If you go to YouTube, because of Calvary Ministries, you can catch all 3 parts of it, copy and paste it, and share it to a friend. All right. All that being said, I'm done. I want to thank again Dr. Scott for the opportunity to have him to be our guest. And I think we're all the better because of what we've had today. And I know for sure that this has definitely been a blessing in so many ways. And I'm glad to say that we had Dr. Manuel Scott Jr. on the show. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
And Dr. Scott, what show do you watch?
Oh, yeah. The Perk and Curt show. That's what you watch.
Perk and Curt show. That's it.
No, so you got to say it like this. You got to say, I watch. Yeah, do it.
I got it. The Perk and Curt show. That is beautiful. That's right. I'm a fan. I'm a fan, gentlemen. I'm a fan.
All right.
Yes,
we got Dr. Scott. I don't need nobody else. I'm good.
Yes, sir. I'm a fan. Thank you, fellas. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
God bless, man.
Okay.
Right,
take care.
Audience, keep those hashtags coming. 2021 Explosion, Word Explosion, 2021 Word Explosion, California 2021 Word Explosion, Oakland. We pray you were blessed by it, and pray y'all catch us on next week. We'll have another great guest as we start 2021. Thank you for being so faithful, and hey, man, let's call it a night, bro.
Call it a night, bro. Get your rest. Hey.
Go.
Great one, dude.
Boom! I see you. I see them explosions. Yeah.
Dude, you see that? Boom! Man, Eric, something from Louisiana.
Oh, Warren Stewart just came on.
Oh, no, dude, Warren Stewart. Oh, who's that little old man y'all interviewing tonight?
That was Manuel Scott. It was Manuel Scott. It was Manuel Scott, bro.
Tell it, dude. We tell it.
Is Manuel still on? Doc, you still on?
I'm trying to get off. I heard what Warren said.
Yeah.
With his old set.
We love Warren Stewart, dude. We love Warren Stewart, bro.
Oh yeah, he's great. So.
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, that's totally cool, dude. You love it. You love it.
Great.
All right, man. Somebody got to say bye. I'm gonna say bye. You finished?
All right, yeah, I'm good.
All right, dude. I'm out.